My name is Bree Houston. This is my third year teaching. I teach Algebra 1 at Stone Memorial High School.
Okay. What is the most challenging part of your job?
Probably having to change plans on a minute's notice. Oftentimes you think, okay, I'm going to cover this, and this week. And then on Monday, they just don't understand the concept at all. And so then you have to spend 3 days on that and you get behind. So you just have to change your plans a lot, or last minute meetings that your administration calls and things like that.
Does the students' behavior when they misbehave, put you behind?
No, not really. When I'm checking homework, I can only check one student at a time, and they talk during that, and it's fine. I have tactics to get them back on task. I'll say, give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair, and they go, woo, and then they're quiet after that. They know that means, okay, get quiet, it's time to start.
And you established that in the beginning?
Not at the very beginning. It was the very first task we did, which was a few weeks into school, and they were freshmen and they were timid and stuff anyway, so it took them a little while to come out of their shells anyway.
Okay. Was there something you felt you were not prepared for coming out of college and entering into the teaching profession?
I felt really prepared on my end, but then my first year teaching, 2 or 3 weeks into school, this lady came in my classroom and she just sat down while I was teaching and started working on some stuff, and I was like, what are you doing in here? And apparently it was an inclusion class, and 5 of the kids were sped, and I didn't even know it until a few weeks in, and I didn't know, what do I do with this sped assistant? Am I supposed to communicate with her, give her a copy of the notes? I didn't really know, and I felt kind of unprepared there, which I've had other sped assistants, and she just kind of did her own thing, and she had stuff to work on, but then other sped assistants will say, hey, can you give me a copy of the notes each day? Or they'll sit and take notes with the kids and stuff like that, so it just kind of depends on who it is.
How do they maintain the quality of their teaching in regards to subjects they may not like?
How do I maintain the quality of my teaching? Okay. I really hate third block, because I feel like RTI is a waste of time, but and a lot of educators feel that way. But I'm told to do it, so I have to do it. And I take the data that I'm given from their tests and things, and I just try my best. I make, if they're on a 4th grade math level, I'll give them 4th grade problems to work on. If they're on an 8th grade level, I give them 8th grade math problems to work on. And I just try to get them up to the level that they need to be. And I don't like it. None of us like it, because it's for the bottom 10%, and it's hurting the top 90%. But, you just got to do what you're given.
What do you enjoy most in teaching?
I don't know. I like it all. I wanted to teach since I was 6.
Since you were 6?
Yeah, so when I was in 1st grade, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. And I don't know, I like it all. I've always been an organized person, and I have stacks of stuff everywhere, but I know what the stacks are. I know it looks bad right now. But, I don't know. One night, my husband went to a football game in Nashville, a Titans game, and I was like, okay, I can stay at school and get a bunch of stuff done. And so I got stuff done, and I was getting organized, and I was like, okay, what can I do now? And then I realized, wow, organization is a really big part of teaching. But, I don't know, I guess I like having stuff to do. I don't know.
You like organization?
Yeah.
How much time do you spend outside the classroom on school-related activities?
I've actually been keeping up with my hours on my phone over the last month, so it's weird that you asked that. But probably I'm in the classroom 40 hours a week. So I'd say average about 15 hours outside of.
And is this because you have to, or you choose to?
Both. If I don't have my stuff done for the next day, if I don't know what I'm teaching the next day, you kind of have to. I mean, you can choose not to, but then you're going to be completely unprepared, and your students know when you're not prepared.
Yes. How much of your own money do you spend every year on your classroom or students?
I try not to spend a lot of my own money because my husband doesn't like that, but probably, I mean, I kind of nickel and dime it here and there. I'd say probably $50 to $100, because we get $100 in like September, like late September, early October to spend on classroom supplies. So that really helps.
Is that just once a year?
Yeah, just once a year. And then there's school supply giveaways every now and then, like that churches do and stuff. So I always go to those.
Those help you out the most?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I got like a whole bunch of paper and pens. I got a classroom set of rulers from a school supply giveaway.
How do you separate your work from home?
You know, I do take a lot of work home, but I try to limit myself, like only spend this much time when you get home on whatever. And I always try to spend like at least 3 or 4 hours on Sunday afternoons doing it. That way I can still spend time with my husband and kids the rest of the weekend. And I usually do it like Sunday evening. So.
What is your level of autonomy in your classroom? Is this more or less than you thought you would have entering into the field?
I think I have a pretty good amount of autonomy. I mean, we have the textbooks, you know, as a guide to follow, but we don't have to use them. If we want to use another resource to cover the standards, then we can. And, you know, nobody says anything as long as we ensure that our students are learning the standards and mastering them, and they demonstrate that mastery on the state test, then it's fine. But I think I really feel like I do have a lot of autonomy in my classroom, because in one of my practicum placements, they had to, the textbook that they had came with like PowerPoints for each lesson, and they had to use those PowerPoints. So in every class, every day, there were 4 different Algebra 1 classes. In every class, every day, they were doing the exact same examples, and they had to be on the exact same lesson every day. And I don't like that, because if one class is really doing good and they can move on, why should they have to stay back on the same lesson with this slower class, you know? I didn't like that, but I'm glad that I have a lot more autonomy here.
What was your degree path? What is your opinion on obtaining a higher degree before entering the classroom?
Well, my degree path was always secondary ed math, because I had decided that when I was 6 years old. What's my opinion on obtaining a secondary degree before coming in the classroom?
Yes, before entering the classroom.
Well, if my principal was looking at 2 different resumes and neither of us have any teaching experience, but this one has a master's and this one doesn't, he's probably going to hire the one with a master's. But I went on and started teaching, and I'm going to start my master's program this summer because there was a position available and I wanted to go on and take it, and also financial reasons. But I definitely suggest getting your master's before you can start teaching, if you're able to, which I wasn't able to financially yet. But I definitely suggest that. That way, because I'm really dreading going back to school, that way you're already like, you know, in the hang of things, and you can go on and just keep going.
Have you had to deal with parent issues?
You know, not too bad. Whenever I was doing my resident teaching, we had a big issue with a parent, and she was just, I don't know, she was really upset over something. Her son was, the parent. Her son was special education, and she felt like we weren't giving him the stuff in his IEP, the extended time and things like that. And we were, and there was documentation of it and stuff. And so I haven't had any issues with parents yet, but I have learned, like, CYA, make sure you document everything just to cover yourself. I don't let my students keep their tests. I have in the file cabinet, there's a file for every student, and I file their tests in there. Whenever they don't do their homework, I write a referral, and then after they like assign them lunch detention or whatever, I get the pink copy back and I file it away in their file, so that if there's ever any question about anything, like why is my student failing? Oh, well, they didn't turn in this homework assignment and this homework. Look how many pink slips I have. And you know, here's this test and they didn't do corrections on it. Here's this test and they didn't do corrections on it. So, you know, just kind of covering yourself. And I also make notes in my grade book. I have a kid that has a 504 plan, and he always takes a long time on the quizzes and things, and I always document 11 extra minutes on this quiz, or however much extra time there was. That way, if there's any question, I can look back and say, no, he was given this, or you know, she had this extra stuff. And so.
And you keep all that the whole year?
And with Skyward, the grading program we use, if I type, there's a notes section for each student for each assignment, and if I type something in there, it's in there forever. I can access my classes that I had 2 years ago.
Okay. What advice would you give when having parent issues?
With parent issues, just stay calm. Don't get mad, even if they're being very accusatory. Because I've had one parent was being very accusatory over email, and I was like, girl, no, you didn't. And so I was typing, but then before I sent it, I went and did some other stuff, and I came back 30 minutes later, and I read it again, and I edited some things, and I was like, okay, this sounds good, and then I sent it.
How do you feel about all the testing that they do now in schools?
It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Do you think
a repeater class that I'm trying to prepare for right now. Our state test is next week, and I don't feel good for them. But I mean, it is what it is. I just try to prepare them as best I can and send them on their way and hope for the best.
Do you feel like teachers focus more on just helping them pass the test instead of lesson plans that would actually help them out?
Yes, I do. I think since the state test reflects so much on us, on our pay and on our, not as much on our pay anymore, but on our evaluations and stuff especially, since it counts towards us, I think we have to teach to the test. We're given a blueprint of, you know, these standards make up 50% of the test, and these standards only make up 25% of the test. So we have to really cover these standards and like make sure that the kids know this and, you know, pound it into their heads. But yeah, I feel like we do have to teach to the test because it counts towards us. And used to it didn't. They just said, you know, here's this, do your best, it's okay, but it counts towards us and for the students now. So.
All right. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.